confused. They will say gold is more important than learning because they are focused on that and not how it is produced. You are here to learn because learning makes the human being human being. Learning made humanity to be what it is today. Always been values. Knowledge and values change and develop according to time. The survival, protection, and development of human beings is connected with, dependent on, and determined by the quality of knowledge we have. And that is why your guardians are inspiring you to begin to understand the role of young people in development. When the world was young, there were no schools and teachers. People were taught how to use their hands and minds in order to be able to live. They were taught values. Elders became very creative. They made rabbits to talk, wolves to talk, hyenas to talk, trees to talk, to mesmerize the mind of the child. So by the actions of the animals and the plants, they enable the young person to distinguish what is right and wrong. Some animals will be vicious, tricky. Others will be wise. And they show through the stories they tell us, the fairy tales. They enable human beings to gather values. They were not television, but the imagination of the adults captivated the young and enabled them to see what did not exist, but to learn from it, to know exactly how to shape their life. There has been, yes, evil in this world, but there has also been good. We were taught from books, and we continue to repeat them, that the good that people do are oft interred with their bones. Only the evil is known. But that is Shakespeare talking. But the reality of life is that the good is known and the evil is known. We are the ambassadors who must help human society to know the good and the evil so that we know how to live. At this very moment, we are told that 37% of our population are between the age of 13 and 30. Over 67% under 35. 350,000 children are in our lower basic school. 98,000 in our upper basic school. Over 60,000, 64,000 in our high schools. In 12 years, over 500,000 children will be out there these are the young people who must marry to be able to have offspring in order to continue a future generation. If they do not have the means to upkeep themselves, how will they have means to upkeep families? What is the use of giving them lectures about human values, about chastity, if they cannot even earn the means to provide for themselves? How can the beggar be taught the right to dignity when he or she must cream crowd and crawl before his or fellow human being in order to be able to have food to eat? So the duty to build society must be assumed by human beings. Without it, we will live in poverty from the cradle to the grave. We will live in indignity from the cradle to the grave. So society has a responsibility. It is wrong to continue to perpetuate that the person should ask what he or she could do for his society and not what his or her society should do for the person. It is wrong. It's a misconception. The human being is not born capable of contributing to society. The human being is born innocent. It is society that must build the capacity of that individual. Build knowledge, build skills, build values, and build character. So that the person will become an embodiment of dignity and self-worth. This is a school. And the past had schools. Schools of life. Starting with parents. Giving support to the children. Taking time to feed them, to clothe them. To help them to have knowledge and skills. To be able to emulate their responsibility. To be able to role play. So the children were never away from the parents. They were always with them. Whether the farmland, whether anywhere else, they were with them, watching over them. And they could role model, they could learn. And that's how knowledge was transferred. But the world is no longer young. It is populated by millions. Communities are large. Parents often live separated from their children. And that is why society must assume greater responsibility for preparing the young to continue to maintain its existence. That is why schools had to be created, so that in the absence of the parents, you will have a teacher well trained to know how to take care of that child. So that there will be no gap. The child will be always under supervision. There will be occasions like this where other adults will volunteer to be present, to organize sessions for young people to acquire knowledge, either from the peer group or from others who can impart knowledge. Society begins to take responsibility for the citizenry. And today, we are living in a different order, where nations exist, and nations have responsibilities, And people have duties to perform. Duties as family members, but duties as citizens of our country. This is an era where you have a larger community, larger than the family, but with the same responsibility as the family. Just as the family must wake up in the morning and put food on the table, and somebody must work to bring that. That person must sacrifice. The mother, father will earn an income. Instead of eating it, will sacrifice to bring that income to feed the children. That takes sacrifice. The person could have done other things with that money, but the first thing that person thinks about is just like that child who left this country and crossed the waters for no other purpose but to ensure that he earns something to eradicate the poverty of his parents. The person will die so that the parents will be able to live, so that the siblings will be able to live. That is sacrifice. It is sacrifice that has made human society. You live and you are ready to die for others to live. That is why parents are capable of taking care of their children. But the parents depend on the larger community to be able to participate in the division of labor in life, to be able to acquire an income to feed the family. Just like you have the family budget, there must also be a national budget. And you must give some people that responsibility where they take charge of billions. They are also required to look at those billions and say, yes, I can do anything with this. But it must go back to the people so that it filters down to the family, so that collectively we survive in dignity and liberty. So your duty as young people is to know that life is a responsibility. If you cannot enjoy a responsibility, you can never be a happy person on the face of this earth. Life, happiness is about responsibility. It's about the parent going to earn, suffer, to come and enjoy seeing the children, and that, live that, and survive with that. For a husband to do the same, knowing it's 24 hours. Who can just be flirting in 24 hours? That's not marriage. It's the joy of responsibility. To see that you are really ready to feel what the person feels. For your heart to beat in unison with the heartbeat of your partner, heartbeat of your children. So that their joy becomes your joy, their pain becomes your pain. That is where happiness is derived. That sense of responsibility. Because it goes with appreciation. The teacher is saying, it is fulfilling our duties and responsibilities that enables us to be appreciated. You can pay for everything other than appreciation. So appreciation is the wages that we receive if we want a society where there is collective responsibility. And it is only such society that can ensure all of us the type of life that a human being should live on the face of this earth. Yes, philosophers have written about education. childhood, lower basic, upper basic, senior secondary. All these are challenges of humanity. People have written about them. Scholars will study it. When should you go to early childhood, etc. It's a constant challenge that minds are working so that we're able to understand exactly what the child is capable of understanding at a given stage in the preparation to take charge of his or her destiny. My conclusion, therefore, is that you are here to continue the journey, which started with learning to sit, to crawl, to walk, and to run. Now you're not just running for its sake. You are moving towards taking charge of your destiny, both as an individual being and as a social being. As an individual being, you must take opportunity as one of the key elements for success. But you must understand that initiative is the other leg for success. Even if opportunities are provided, if there is no initiative, success will not be achieved. So even if there are no opportunities, you must continue to take the initiative. Then you keep hope alive. Once you fail to keep hope alive, then that is the end. You will never live to make it. Others can obstruct your development, but don't accept the obstruction as the end. See it as a challenge to move on. Always know that sooner or later, the challenge that you have, others will also have, and collectively you will face that challenge to push society forward. Society is always marching forward. No matter some of the thorns that we go through, no matter some of the rough ways we walk on, we must always know that yes, the challenges appear to be crooked, but ultimately we'll take the bend towards success, towards liberty, towards dignity, towards prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. And we want to still ask for your presence, and as our audience might want to ask some few questions related to your lectures. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have our Honorable who have just ministered to us. And if you have a question to ask, you are permitted to. And you do that by introducing your name, and then maybe probably the institution you represent, and then your question. Please, straight to the question. Go ahead.
Yes.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, sir. My question is about we look around us, we see we have about 99.7% of them here. And I wrote something down which I call female disadvantage, sir. And there's a lot of obstacles preventing the young girls to continue their education. And one of them is traditional attitude towards female gender. Then there's another one which I wrote down, geographical isolation. And the third one is early marriage and pregnancy. Please, I want you to explain to us better about this prevent the things that prevent them from continuing their education.
Well, thank you very much. In the lecture, you can see how I moved from early human society to modern days. And we need to help every person in society to understand the society in which we live. Early human society developed into agrarian societies where people live on farming to be able to live. So there, puberty was defined, and as soon as you reach puberty, they start their ceremonies in order to prepare you for family life. And both males and females just go and work hard in the farm and bring up children who will also work in the farm. There was no preparation for that person to go into a school system and prepare to earn a living. But we moved without really taking charge of our own destinies. We were colonized. And they built schools. They established urban areas. People moved from the rural areas into urban centers. There were no farms. They have to live. So consequently, public services began to emerge. And a new society emerged without people being prepared for it. And the new society which emerged also did not emerge naturally, because instead of industries emerging to absorb our people in jobs, the industries were in the mainland of the colonial powers. We produce mainly raw materials, and they have the industries. So there was this gap where the urban population were left without any secure possibility of earning their keep to be able to take care of families. Yet, education expanded. Today, you have an urban population of almost 40% going up. And there are no farmlands for that urban population to really farm on. And there are no industries. So you're also talking about a rural area which must develop agriculture, and once you introduce machinery in agriculture, you don't need human beings to work in the farm. So if development really catches up with us, then in reality, you do not need many people who will be working on those farms. The family farms will be able to produce enough to feed itself. So what happens to the children? This is where we must acknowledge that society has changed, and how we manage it must change. The value system must change. Change in the sense that we cannot continue just to have that woman or that girl, that boy in that home just sitting. They must become educated. They must participate in elections. They must have knowledge. They must have ideas. So when we say that we have moved into republics, that means that we have moved away from monarchies, and now we own society. And each person must have entitlement in society. You have a right to services, right to education, right to health. Because if people do not learn these skills and knowledge, then we will not be able to provide for ourselves. We will not be able to become fitters, engineers, masons, carpenters. How would we have this room where we are now meeting, this hall where we are meeting. So people must learn all the skills. So human civilization requires a division of labor in society. We must pass knowledge and skills from one generation to another. So that knowledge should be universal. So it means that the starting point where we miss the point, right at the time of becoming independent nations, we should have built our people to know that now they are going to be in charge of our destiny. And to do so, we must have a different type of education system. And all must go through that so that the norms of running a society will be clear to all of us. That we are going to be voters will be clear to all of us. That we will end up having some of us to be leaders who should be known from the very early age. These are the responsibilities and duties of those who select and be selected. So you're talking about citizenship education. And with that citizenship education, you are talking about nation building. So where those, the language you speak, the gender you belong to, the religion you have, as an element in terms of being a citizen of a country. So the larger community of citizenship emerging, the issue of tolerance comes in, accepting each other irrespective of our diversities. All this should be part of the educational system where we even learn all the languages and eventually even develop a national language if you so there. All this are ways and means of bringing people together that the nation should have done at the inception of nation building. Just as we said, the person starts with innocence, nations also start with innocence. They needed to accept their limitations and then start to build a community of citizens, equal in sovereignty, irrespective of their gender, their language, their religion, and all of us must have a right to exercise that difference and make sure that that difference does not undermine the unity of all. So in short, we need to have that perspective injected in our whole education system from early childhood onwards to bring new persons who will have the type of tolerance that you are now demanding. Of course, in between, we have a task to do, and it means that in our policies, etc., we must inject all these ideas so that it becomes the norm. But what is important is to ensure that people understand what we are trying to do from the very beginning. Then it will not be difficult to really educate people. But as long as people don't understand, then we start to deal with the elements rather than really the general framework, not even the root. And here you end up with differences. I believe in the traditional society. We want us to change our society. This is a Western infiltration. So at the end of the day, this is a religious infiltration. Some people are trying to change it. So people will start resisting the reforms that people undertake because they really don't understand that this is about them and that this involves them. Because as sovereign citizens, it is for them to take charge. It is to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I will really like this. I'm coming to you, but I want to get questions from my students. Let me have a question from you. Your name and the institution you represent.
Good morning to you all. My name is Aisha Johnson from Gas Guy Association. My question is, well, as you have said, the government is here for all of us. Likewise, my question is, what is the government doing to help out the youths who have never been to school?
Yes, you've made a statement. The government is for all of us. And let me amend it and say the government should be for all of us. But the government may not be for all of us, depending on its policies. And And that's why you have a democratic society where you choose, and if they fail to fulfill their responsibility, you may choose others. So the assumption is that the government has a duty to perform, but you may have people who refuse to perform those duties. Now, if a government is to perform its duty, what should it do? And Section 30 of the Constitution is very clear that education should be universal. It must be called compulsory. Everybody must go to school. That's the demand. And it should be free. Basic education should be free. People will start giving extra, that's not possible. Well, then don't leave it to others who say it is possible. Because the law says that it should happen. So therefore, you must find ways of making it to happen. So that is the law. Education should be free. Every child should be in school. That's the law. So any government that fails to do that is actually breaking the law. Now, how do we do it in a practical terms, moving from the legality? Well, it is important to understand that society has the wealth. Look at Gambian society. Look at the ocean. Others will come and bring their fishing vessels and take it away and make billions, then come and give us aid. We have minerals in Khartoum, Batoum, for how many years we saw nothing from it. 2 years of the current government. It's recently that I asked a question in Nationals, and they said now they have given the company to a this country, Angola and Gambia company. I'll have to ask another question and say, what is government going to derive from this? Our resources are being given away, and they give us the impression that investors are the ones who must develop those resources. But what do those investors bring? Dollars. What do we collect from our people? Taxes, dollars, which can be converted into dollars. Look at this mighty continent, all its wealth. A company will be an oil company out there, make billions, and come and give our countries pittance. We said for 5 decades we've been independent. These countries cannot come together. The World Bank came together by countries contributing money to the World Bank, and it gives loans and make profit. Now it is controlling countries and dictating their policies. And these countries on the continent cannot take money from their coffers and put it together, form an oil company that will come and buy all the equipment and produce them in order to start prospecting and getting this oil and selling it and bring it back to the continent. So the problem is that we have tied our hands and feet, unable to produce and build the productive base of our economies, and therefore how are you going to provide adequate services? So that is what must be done. Yes, that is the right to education, but accompanying that right is the duty to build our economies to be able to ensure that that right is fulfilled. That is still not happening.
Thank you very much. I think I'll encourage 2 questions. Oh, more questions are coming. Okay, let me come to you, and then I'm coming to you next.
Good morning, sir. I am Colonel Mojaju, Gambia Armed Forces. Sir, my question is, first is a short statement. It is our collective responsibility to prepare and guide our youth for their future responsibilities. However, my question is, what is the government going to check and prevail on institutions and individuals who are creating and exploiting our youth, more so the girl child, in the form of entertainment on our highways. Thank you.
Yes, it is important for society to begin to develop societal values. And those values are transmitted through the home, the school system, through the peer group. The peer group can be anything that you make it. These young people today could be organized into drama groups. And we have seen it with our own eyes. And showing the end result of not learning. The end result of certain harmful practices. So at the end of the day, you are injecting values in those young people. What is important is to bear in mind that government should take responsibility, ultimate responsibility, for creating the environment through which the young person will acquire the values that you cherish. But if that is not happening, then society is fragmented. Everybody moves the way that he or she wants to move. And at the end of the day, you have different results based on the different orientation of the children. So it means that we have a greater responsibility to ensure that the institutions we create are fit for purpose. That they will help the young person to get entertainment, but the type of entertainment that really sharpens your own consciousness and understanding of self so that you can protect yourself all the more. I constantly tell, for example, the young girls that the reason why the woman carries the biggest weight in society is because the woman carries two most important burdens of society. It is the woman that brings the child from her womb. Without that happening, society will come to an end. And unless we produce, we also will not be able to survive. So the woman also carries the burden of production. So it means that that woman needs more protection than anybody else from the very beginning. Because if she does not know how to protect and own her body, at the end of the day, you'll have many children, or she will also start using to prevent the children and then end up not being able to have children. Either way, the function of ensuring the propagation of the species will be affected. So it is important then to prepare that woman, that child, that girl child, to see herself as a very precious being, to learn how to protect herself, society. Unless that is injected in the person, that sense of value, that sense of worth, then she'll drop her guard and anything else will be able to happen. But we must also accompany that girl, that as she develops herself, society will continue to give protection of knowledge, of skills, to be able to earn an income. If you abandon that girl in the street without means of income, she becomes vulnerable. What happens to that girl? She becomes a victim of blind destiny. So the problem is that we must address the failure of society in not being able to protect that girl child so that she sees a trajectory where if I develop myself, I am going to succeed without having to move into a terrain which makes me vulnerable. But notwithstanding, we need to build human beings with conscience who will not seek to exploit others. With that also, protection will come. So it's a double-edged sword. Those who abuse and those who are vulnerable to abuse. We must end both vulnerabilities, one by education and conscientization, the other by ensuring that the person's development moves towards success and that society provides all the basis for that success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will come to ladies here. You've asked a question just now. Let me give opportunity to this young lady. Your name, please.
Good morning to you all. My name is Halifa. I'm representing Girls Guidance School. Sir, my question is, what are the values between people and youth who are educated and who are not educated in the society? Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, what is education? Sometimes language acquisition is seen as education. Language is just a tool. If you can speak English, you speak French. It's the same as being able to speak Mandinka, Wolof, Jola, Sarakule, Manjago, Aku. It's a language. But we have transformed these languages into depositories of knowledge. If you can speak Mandinka, that does not entitle you to be able to read books that gives you universal education. Because writings had to develop in stages, and cultures that developed the writing decided to do research and build encyclopedias where universal knowledge is deposited in those languages and taught in universities, kept in books. Therefore, you need to study those languages in order to acquire that knowledge. And that is why we talk about English as a colonial experience being the official language. Because all the other languages are yet to have the knowledge known to human society deposited in them in a written form. But if you go to Tanzania, they have Swahili, which is being converted into that type of knowledge. If you go to China, you can see them writing, people are now studying Chinese in order to be able to get knowledge. So we, the African people, have not actually done our duty to use our languages and convert them into official languages where we translate all knowledge into them, and therefore it means that anybody who can speak the language and write it could develop to read and understand and communicate. So my answer to that is that some people, because English is the official language, have gone through the process of acquiring that language and now being trained in different areas of life, in being able to acquire some knowledge about different things. But you know, as I know, that people acquire skills as carpenters, as masons, as fitters, as without necessarily going through the school system. And they are the best mechanics, best fitters, etc., because that's the area of skill. What is important is what you call universal education, because it prepares the citizenry. So this is a right of every citizen, and that gap must be eliminated. Because if you don't eliminate the gap, while English becomes the official language, then my right to represent my country at the National Assembly, as a president, in any sector of society will be limited. So I'm really being deprived of my right to citizenship, because my citizenship should come with my right to acquire all services or be whoever I want to be in my society. So therefore, the universality of education should be a norm in every republic, and everybody must be entitled. And if society left others behind, it has to come with adult literacy to make them catch up again. Any society capable of doing that is the type of society that can become prosperous in the future.
Thank you. I will encourage 2 more questions only so that our speaker will take his seat. Let me take a question from this table, and then I'll come finally there.
Honorable, given to the wealth of experience and your knowledge in government, and also during the impasse here, how you controlled the nation. But everyone knows that you tried your best to make sure that war did not come into the country. You are given a 98% kudos for what you did. People have also been saying that people believed that you would have been a president by now, so that you will also be able to help the society, help the nation to move forward. I want to ask, what is holding you to be the president of the Gambia?
Well, 2 things must become clear. First, we had to fight the battle of national liberation to liberate the country, which by 1970 became a fact. From 1965, we had independence, but we were still a constitutional monarchy. The Queen of England was still the Queen of the Gambia and had a Governor General to represent the Queen until 1970 when we became a republic. That's the first stage. What we should have done in 1970 was to prepare the Gambian people to be a people, so that irrespective of our language differences, religions, gender, all the characteristics, each will know that I have one vote and I am a citizen, and therefore I have a voice, I have power, and all of us collectively own the power of the nation. You see, with that lesson, then the people we select will be based on informed choice. They will put their programs before us. We will elect them on that basis. When they serve us for 5 years and they fail, we can get rid of them and put others. When you have that system in place, anybody with competence would be able to seek office and is likely to handle the responsibility until he or she proves that he or she cannot, or there should always be time limits. Because if you want to eradicate monarchy, you cannot have presidents for life. So you must have a term limit. Serve, you are not the only person who would know in a country, and allow others to continue to serve. And the more you have many people who have rendered service up, and others take charge, those others will never be able to betray the aspirations of the nation. Because those who have served and left will continue to be the cornerstone of a society, guardian of the political system. That is really what Africa needs. So as far as I'm concerned, my duty is to teach and teach and teach until the people understand this lesson. And if they so desire, and time has also been on my side, that I'm not dead or too infirm to serve, well, I will be able to serve if they believe that I'm in the best position to do that. Nobody should aspire to be a president. You should aspire to serve. And if serving takes you to the level of a president, then you know that you have to carry out the responsibility according to the dictates of law and the aspirations of the people. So in short, that's what I can say, that my duty now is to serve as long as I can And when I can no longer do so, to bow down and encourage others to continue that trend. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Please, I will take the last question. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable. My name is Peter Dabala from Dalido Comprehensive School. You made mention earlier that human rights start with innocence, and we must go through society and not society going through us. So to your own observation, do you think that we youths are working towards that?
Well, I'm inspired anyway, because what I've seen is a genuine effort to move forward. Genuine effort to know. I've heard young people reciting poetry, raising conscience. You see, 4 elements are indispensable for the human being to be a human being. Your mind must speak the language of knowledge. You must struggle to know. Your heart must speak the language of truth. You must love truth. Your conscience must speak the language of justice. You must hate to make others suffer. You must hate to see suffering. And your willpower must speak the language of resolution. You must become someone, when you see truth, no matter what, you will be bent on ensuring that you follow it to its final fruition. And what I see developing is precisely that trend, that trajectory, that young people are demanding to know. They are struggling more and more to love truth. Their consciences their conscience clearly is being touched. They're beginning to hate to see injustice. And there is resolution. Young girls want to learn. They are fighting, transforming themselves into vulnerable human beings whom others will exploit. And the more you have that resolution, that I'm not going to be treated like trash. I'm a human being. I want to live in dignity. If I'm going to be loved, it's at the right time, and from an individual who genuinely will not want me to suffer. Because what is love? To come and exploit me, I have a child, and you run away? Is that love? It's not. So whatever is not sustainable, happiness that's not sustainable, is happiness that I don't want. A lot of young people are moving in that direction, and I hope that will spell well for the future of the Gambia.
Thank you very much. We want to say we appreciate you for your lectures and your response to questions. We'll leave you now so that